I often joke that I work with the kids in my profession. It just happened that these kids are 30+ years old. Besides the joke, I work with the teams and companies, helping them to set and reach their business objectives. In fact, I work with the entrepreneurs, business owners, managers, professors. As you see, I work with the individuals, all in all. And one thing I noticed, that whenever there is an issue within the company, it always has to do with the fact that someone in the company has lost the connection with the self. In my company, we use the spiral dynamic as the measurement and support tool. The spiral dynamic was built up in 1974 by the developmental psychologist and professor at the Union College in New York, Clare Graves. And Clare Graves and his colleagues has found out an interesting similarity that all living entities, including teams, companies, cultures, countries, civilizations, and of course humans, are living through the similar developmental stages. Besides working in a business, I'm a father of 2 daughters. They're 5 and 10. And I, as a parent, was always looking for some type of a guidelines. So how do I help my kids to grow up? And after a number of years working with the spiral dynamic in a business, I suddenly noticed that it's actually very well fit to the kids' developmental cycle. And today I would like to share with you my interpretation of a spiral dynamic applied for the kids' development, cut it in 6 stages. And it's not at all an easy job to explain the spiral dynamic in 10 minutes. At least it takes 1 full intensive training day to do this. But I'm very eager to share this with as many people as possible, so I'll try to do my best today, okay? And I propose to use the metaphor of the software installation on the brand new PC here for the easier explanation. And just to be compliant with Elena's presentation, I need to make an agreement with you. This is just a comparison. Your kid is not a PC, okay? So step by step, we're naturally given a possibility to install the necessary information, to take and embed the qualities which would be essential for the next chapter of our lives. Step by step, the new part of the software have to be installed. Here I'll call them drivers. So imagine the newly born kid up until 6 months is having a possibility to embed the first driver. I usually call this, always call it, the driver of a body intelligence. In spiral dynamic, they use the colors for the easier navigation, so this is the beige driver. It gives a possibility to distinguish good from bad. It gives a possibility to hear the inner voice. It gives a possibility to be connected deeply with your body. At this stage, kids are learning how to distinguish the objects and attribute them. So the one might just look at the waving hand and suddenly realize, it's mine. Up until 4 years, there is a possibility to install the next driver, the purple. This is our first and deepest relationship lesson in life. We learn how to be curious and explore the world. We learn the trust to others and belonging through the connection with the closest relatives and parents. The kid at this age might wake up in the morning in the bed between 2 parents and feel, I'm loved. The red driver is coming on the stage from the age from 5 until 8, approximately. At this point, our PC has already accumulated a lot of power and wants to check out the boundaries of the physical environment. The kid starts to push the borders, checks up what else is possible to do outside my family. And you might often hear quite an aggressive no, or it's mine, from the kids on this stage. From around 9 till 12, the next blue driver can be installed. This often is triggered by the following realization. Probably I will not be able to fight everyone in my community, so I have to find the consensus. At this stage, it's possible to embed the following qualities, like relationship, like ability to rely on someone. From around 13 until 16, the orange driver is appearing. At this age, the teenager feels similar as on the red stage. He wants to push out the boundaries, but this time in an emotional and intellectual spheres. At this point, teenagers are able to take charge for something bigger than just themselves. It's a very powerful source for striving for the personal success. And finally, at around the adulthood, the last green driver could be installed. The people with the properly installed green driver focus on the human needs in the long term. They pay attention to the other needs, and they do their utmost to maintain the harmony within that group or the team. This stage is quite often associated with the vulnerability, because the one might start thinking that actually it's not possible to grasp the complexity of the entire universe alone. Therefore, this stage is often associated with the collaboration, co-creation, and innovation. So these are 6 basic fundamental stages. Each age, each behavioral pattern of your child is important. And we as the parents quite often considering that we do too little, we need to find more actions. And I must say that we're doing quite okay. We do quite well letting our kids to rely on the family, on the purple, to obey the power on the red, to comply with the society needs on the blue, to strive for success and being in a trend on the orange, and search for the deep meaning of a life on green. And it's not much that we need to do more here. But some of you might notice that I haven't yet spoken in this short summary about the very first badge driver. And this is, in my opinion, some type of a joke of a life, because this stage is just in the very beginning of a life, and it's just a 6 month long. Yet, it's responsible for one of the most essential qualities for the human: ability to listen and trust the self. And I would like to share with you one story here from my personal life. This story is about my older daughter, Polina. She is 10, but she is obviously ahead of her age. When I was preparing to this speech, I was showing her the slides with the pictures and asking Polina, so which of the slides is yours? And she right away pointed out on the orange. And I quite agree with her. And actually, I'm not sure if it's good or bad that she's ahead of her age. It's just a fact. So Polina is dancing. And once I have to pick her up from the dancing classes. I came over there earlier. I like to come early there because the studio has quite a nice atmosphere, and I like to process some routine part of my work there. I was passing by the class and noticed something strange happening over there behind the glass door. My Polina was standing in the middle, and the teacher was hugging her. Polina was crying. My first intention was to interfere, to go there and to stand up for my girl. But somehow I managed to calm myself down and trusted the process and the teacher. I went to my waiting place, was doing some work on my laptop, and at the time when the class has finished, she was going out with other girls, quite smiling and happy. She was telling me something, and then she came closer and asked her, "Polina, come here." She sat on my knees, and I asked, "Polina, what has happened there?" She changed in the face immediately, and she said, like the teenagers, like nothing. She showed me with the entire body that she doesn't want to speak about this. I kept calm and hugged her. And at that moment she started crying as I never saw before. She was crying for a couple of minutes, and at the time when she calmed down, I asked her, "So now you could tell me everything." It was still not easy for her to start up the conversation, but eventually she said, "I was not accepted to the talent show in a school." The next minute, thousands of thoughts been boiling in my head, and most of them could be divided in two parts. So one was like, is that it? Such heavy emotions in just such a small event? And the second part was, actually, I have no idea that this talent show is so important for my daughter. I was sitting and thinking, so what do I do next? What do I tell her? I couldn't find any critical thinking capacity to consider where the error has occurred and how could I help her. So you know what I told in the end? I haven't found any words, so I said nothing. After some while, I have realized that actually I have done the best I could do to her at this moment. I allowed her my presence. I allowed myself to be with her for this couple of minutes. Just as at the time when she was born, when I was sitting and looking at her for the first time in her life with the eyes full of tears and excitement, as if the entire universe would be here in my hands. Humans at different age, time to time, are caught up in the difficult emotional loops. Their reasons might be different depending on the age and the situation. And I tend to treat these situations as the call to the IT help desk. And we all know what is the most oftenly suggested action from the help desk. Restart the system. And the simple restart works as a self-healing here. When it comes to the humans, a couple of minutes of being in presence could work as the simple restart. Not rushing into the everyday routines, just stay in silence for a couple of minutes. And somehow we have managed to offer this service to our kids when they were young, up until 6 months, right? We haven't done much. We've been just offering them the food, warm bed, and our presence. The rest they have managed themselves. So why don't we continue? I use this as the hint for myself, and I offer for you as well. Spending 2 minutes with your child in a full presence every day. Just 2 minutes, but full and entire presence. No words, just you and your kid. Just be. 2 minutes which worth millions and years. 2 millions of feeling safe. 2 millions which naturally shapes up a possibility for the kid to solve any difficult situations. 2 minutes full of a compassion, empathy, and love, where is no space for blame. Not all situations requires our active actions. Be attentive to your kids, but do not overcare. Do interfere as less as possible when it's possible. Thank you.